Do you feel like you constantly need to pop your low back to relieve yourself of tension and tightness back there? Here's how you can finally stop needing to do that. What it usually means when you pop your back, or any joint for that matter, and it feels good, is that fluid within the joint is moving in a certain position or certain way within the joint that it hasn't in a relatively long period of time. So if I am twisting my spine and it pops here, then what that means is that these vertebrae haven't moved into this position and fluid hasn't shifted in a way that would happen when I get into this position in a matter of hours, days, weeks, or even months potentially. Now, research shows that popping your joints isn't necessarily bad for you, but it does represent something to me. And what that tells me is if you can constantly pop yourself in one direction when you twist your spine in a given position, and this is a consistent thing, then what that tells me is that you're probably limited in your ability to naturally go to that position, which I'll describe in a second, and you're only able to go there if you force yourself into it. So it's representing that you're probably limited in certain rotational elements of your spine and your hips. And this is just my experience. I tend to see that the more jacked up or in pain someone is, the more that they can pop their joints. Now, this isn't something that I want you to take as fact. This is just something I see all the time very consistently. And when I know I'm feeling good, I can pop my joints a whole lot less frequently and consistently than when I'm feeling a little tight or stiff. Let me give you an example. Let's say you do the classic one where your hips stay stationary and you just twist your spine to a given position. Let's say the left side, and you feel a pop in your left low back. Well, what this means is that your pelvis, because it's stationary and you're turning your trunk to the left, your pelvis is actually going to the right and your upper body is going to the left. So you could say that you would probably have a limitation in your ability to have your upper spine go to the left while your lower spine goes to the right. So this might tell us that you might be stuck in a position where your pelvis is stuck facing the left side or your upper body is stuck facing the right side. Sticking with this example of me turning to the left and feeling a pop in my back when I do that all the time, I would expect to see a limitation in my pelvis's ability to rotate to the right while I rotate my trunk to the left. So what you can try is this assessment. Lay on your back with your arms out by your sides and then keep your knees and feet together and your knees pointing up at the ceiling. This is 0 degrees. Let your knees and feet fall together, keeping them touching the entire time and stopping at the point where if you went any further, the opposite side shoulder would come off of the ground or you would need to have your knees and feet separate from each other. Now remember, if I'm constantly turning to the left to pop my back and that's what feels good, I probably have a limitation to access this type of range of motion on my own. So the joint fluid isn't moving in a position where this is being represented a lot. So I'd probably expect to see a limitation when my knees are going to the right and I'd have less than 70 degrees. Now, if the inverse was true and I could always pop my back turning to the right with my trunk and my pelvis was stationary, meaning that it was going to the left, then I'd probably see a limitation in my knee's ability to go to the left side. So here's what we need to do. Let's say I assessed that pelvis rotation and I had a harder time getting my knees to go to the left side like this. So what I would need to do is train my pelvis's ability to create genuine rotation to the left while my upper body stays stationary, meaning that it's going relatively to the right. This will help get that joint fluid moving better within my vertebrae that typically like to pop when people try to twist their spine and pop their back. And it feels good, but also they kind of know that they're stiff and they don't move very well in general anyway. So if your knees were indeed limited going to the left, then do this exercise laying on your left side using your right glute to help educate your pelvis to move better and turn better to the left. If you were limited in your knee's ability to go to the right, then just do it on your right side using your left glute. If you were limited in both, maybe just do this on both sides. And after doing it, you should notice that you're not able to pop your back as much, which is a good thing, probably because you actually are able to access better rotation through your spine and hips. And if you don't want to have to rely on constantly popping your back or going to the chiropractor or rolling yourself out all the time to feel better, check out my beginner body restoration program. It's designed to be a complete reset of your body, improve mobility, improve your posture, and improve how you feel on a daily basis, most importantly. Check it out down below in the description for more. This is the sideline glute max exercise. What we're gonna do is get in a sideline position where we have our feet against the wall and a 90-degree bend at both our knees and our hips. Now, we want to make sure that we have a couple of things that are going to help optimize the setup and execution of this. The first is a pillow double folded in half. So that way our head is just ever so slightly side bent towards the ceiling right there, just a little bit. It should allow our neck to stay 100% relaxed the entire time we're doing this exercise. The other thing is we have a little rolled up yoga mat, or it could be a beach or a shower towel rolled up, or it can be some hand towels rolled up too. And that is just underneath the lowest part of the rib cage, but the hip is still flat on the floor. Okay. The last thing is a band around the knees and also a couple of books stacked up, maybe 2 to 3 inches tall, so that way we have our knees starting just below the height of our feet right there. Okay, so first thing Jacob's gonna do is make sure he has no tension in his body. He wants to make sure he's totally relaxed. Are you there?
Yes.
Great. Okay, now I want Jacob to take a nice full sighing exhale through his mouth for about 5 or even more seconds. And at the end of that exhale, big open mouth sigh, he's gonna feel his rib cage come down. And at the end of that exhale, he's gonna feel like his ribs are down and in. That's good. It's almost like he's doing a little posterior pelvic tilt, but he's not trying to squeeze anything in his hips. It's just like he's bringing his rib cage down a little bit. Now, Jacob is going to tuck his bottom side shoulder underneath him. So let's show him what that looks like. It's not anything crazy. It's just dropping the shoulder a little lower, keeping your arm in basically the same place. Let's do that one more time, Jacob, so they see what that looks like right there. Start there. Now just a subtle tuck underneath you. What that's going to allow him to do is, while he's keeping his ribcage down, which he achieved in the first step of this, is that's gonna allow him to slightly lift away from these towels right here, or this yoga mat, whatever he's using. And that's going to give him engagement of his side abs on the bottom side. We just wanna make sure that as Jacob creates that little tunnel down there, he's not flaring or arching his back or extending his ribcage like that. He's gotta keep those ribs down and in, just like we did at the beginning of this exercise. So what should happen is that he should feel just his downside side abs engaged. His neck should still be relaxed. Do you feel that, Jacob?
Yes.
Good. If he didn't, then one cue that could be helpful is he could reach this top hip away from him. That's another cue that can achieve the same thing, might be more helpful for some people. So can we show him what that looks like? If you were to reach this hip away from you, perfect, just like that. That's the idea. Okay, so he's got his side abs engaged, his ribs tucked in a little bit. Now he's going to feel some important foot contacts on that wall, particularly the inner heel of this top foot and the base of his big toe. Without losing the outside foot, he wants to keep those things flat on the wall. Bottom side foot should just remain in contact with the wall. Don't lose that heel. Now, feeling those foot contacts on the wall, Jacob is going to first slide his knee as far as he can forward without losing that tunnel in his left abs or his right inner heel contact on that wall. And then he's gonna focus on keeping those things again and slightly lifting his knee without ever losing that right foot arch on the wall or feeling like he's gonna side bend here. We don't want that. So that's why we gotta maintain that little tunnel on the left side there. And as he does that, Jacob is going to feel his right lower butt cheek muscle engage. Not as much the outside of his hip, more so the lower part of his glute max right here. And now Jacob's gonna breathe in through his nose, out through his mouth. What I want Jacob to focus on is like he's trying to develop a relationship between his right glute and his right foot arch working together. That's what we're trying to educate our body to do here. I'd recommend doing this daily for at least 2 sets of about 5 to 10 slow breath cycles. And doing it both in the morning and at night is most ideal for the best success. Again, if you want more exercises that help with this, check out my beginner body restoration program down below in the description. If you guys like this and you want more quick videos that address things like this, let me know in the comments too. And like and subscribe. I'll see you guys in the next one.